Coming to you from Mainframe Studios at 900 Keogh Way in downtown Des Moines, this is 900 Views, a podcast about building community through the arts as we build an arts community. I'm your host, Pat Bodie, and my guest today is the president of Community Support Advocates, Christina Smith. CSA works with individuals and families, quote, impacted by mental health or disabilities, unquote. And one of the ways CSA does that is through a program housed in Studio 104 at Mainframe called Momentum. CSA believes in the transformative power of art, seeing art as a tool that can build confidence, inspire hope, and develop resilience. Now, Christina has been with CSA for more than 20 years, and we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of her role as executive director. And in 10 plus years, you've been involved with Momentum. I don't normally ask this question, but you've got such an amazing story. How did Momentum get its start?
Well, thanks, Pat. I started Momentum, about 14 years ago when I was working with a gentleman. My role was supporting him. He was living in an apartment on his own. He was really impacted by his mental health issues at the time. He wasn't leaving his house at all, and he only wanted me to come in. He wouldn't allow anyone else in, and he wasn't leaving. So my role was to, just see if he was safe and try to engage him back into life. And I was using his art to try to do that in any way possible, because he, prior to his mental health issues, he was a pretty great artist. And so I partnered with Polk County Health Services through a grant and some of my coworkers there at Community Support Advocates, and we held our first art competition and exhibition. We also partnered with Kenneth Paul Gallery at the time, and we held a very small art competition and exhibition for individuals with disabilities and mental health issues. And I convinced Don to enter. I had no idea whether he would show up. I liken sometimes social work and art similarly, that you kind of throw things at a canvas, right? And sometimes you throw it away and it doesn't work, and sometimes something beautiful shows up. And this is one of those beautiful things, because Don did show up to that exhibition. He got in some pieces in, and he won a ribbon, and he showed up wearing a suit and a smile I had never seen, and he engaged all evening with the community around his art. And I remember that evening him talking with me about he just said, they loved my art. And I said, of course, Don, they loved your art. It's great. And he was like, no, you do not understand. You're paid to say that. They loved my art. And that was, basically the momentum behind his mental health recovery. And he went on to go back to college and graduate with an art degree. And he did pass away 10 years later from cancer. But at the time of his death, he held two jobs in the community. One was art related, and the other was mental health recovery. He was helping others achieve recovery. He was actively dating and looking for a wife. He had joined Toastmasters. He was living a full life, and he could say that the impact of others, people in the community, seeing the value of his work, helped him see himself as someone who wasn't ill, but someone as an artist, is what fueled that mental health recovery. And then after he passed away, his sisters came to me with a check, and it was for $200, and it said, this is what we would have given Don for his birthday this year, and we want to give it to you, and we want Momentum to be bigger. We want art to be accessible to people like our brother, so that art can fuel the recovery of others. And we sat down, as we do often, because they show up every year at Christmas and birthday time with that check still. And they started the conversation of how Momentum could be something bigger, and it grew into the studio and workshops that it is today, and it still grows.
Well, in fact, we're posting this podcast on May 3rd, but on May 10th, you're having a fundraiser.
Yes.
Kind of a speakeasy piece, and we'll tell a little more about that at the end, but it will be at the Conservatory at 315 East 5th, May 10th at 7 p.m. And it's because Momentum is expanding. So how are you expanding? Is that a physical piece? Is that a programmatic piece? Are you reaching more people?
Well, right now, it's amazing, Pat, to see, something that's in your head, grow. And so this last year, we opened our studio, like you talked about. And right now, we offer free art access through workshops. So people can come, anyone with a disability or mental health issue can come for free and access free training in art. So we have artists come already and teach classes, whether that's pottery or painting or photography, so that they can try things and see what works for them, right? Or we have a studio here where they can come and try out their own creative expression in any way they want. And we're kind of outgrowing our little studio here, and in a good way. And so what we would like to do is move that into other pieces besides just visual arts. So we want to see people try art in movement and dance and music and drama.
So you need a little more space to make that happen.
Yeah, because our space is full of visual arts and painting and clay and all the great stuff that goes along with art. And then we also we're working right now with so many artists who are ready to make a living at art, and so we want a classroom space so that we can teach branding and
marketing,
things. Yes, and
Sure.
social media and all of those things. And so we're looking at trying to grab another studio space to do those things.
So that opening story about your client, he was an artist. If you are working with someone who has had no particular tendency toward the arts prior to facing a mental health challenge or some other disability, does this thing work as well?
Oh, absolutely. So I like to say, momentum can be transformative no matter where you are in the journey. So we work with people who've never picked up a pencil or brush, right? Or someone who is a fantastic artist and maybe there's barriers to their art based on their disability, and we're overcoming those barriers. But, I recently, a few years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting a young lady who had never picked up a pencil prior to her brain injury. And someone handed her pencils after her brain injury as a way of recovery. And she said, she used those pencils and the ability to focus on making something beautiful with those pencils actually slowed down and shut off the pain sensors in her brain. And so when that happened, then she focused harder, right? And so now she is completely, and that was just a few years ago, she's making her living at making beautiful things. And she's a very talented artist. You would never believe that she just picked up a pencil a few years ago. And you just don't ever know what's going to light the spark. And access is so important. That's a huge thing of what we do here. Not only access, but community. So, I like to say that we're building hope and resilience through the arts here. And the research is showing, Pat, that resilience, you and I both could go through the same experience, and we could, traumatic experience, and we could experience it completely differently. Mm-hmm. And part of that could be based on how we internally have resilience capabilities, right? And the research is showing a lot of that is based on our relationships and connectivity, and that's how resilience is built. And we're building not only the means to help people recover, but we're building connections and community. And that is one of the things after the first year of having this studio I have been fascinated to watch. There is a true community here, not only within our four walls of 104, but I love the community, the bigger community within Mainframe that we are a part of and get to be expressed. And then not only outside of Mainframe, the bigger artist community in central Iowa, and that our artists get to be a part of that as well.
What does that mean to them to be a part of that larger arts community, and paint a little bit of a picture, pardon the pun, of what that kind of looks like?
Well, for this, for the individual community here, it's a safe space for them to come and create, and of like-minded people that, they're not alone, right? And that community that of a shared experience through art, right? And then the fact that there's such talent around, and they're so welcomed, and they can walk out and one, just like Dawn, and through the story I told, they value my art. I am an artist, and they see, no matter where I am in this building, we're sitting here in Mainframe, I'm an artist, and I can walk up to, Javen, Jan, Marco Neau, the talents of the world, right? And I'm an artist, and I'm valued for my art. That is just powerful beyond power, and my artists feel that. And not only that, then we offer experiences for them to show their pieces outside, not only here at Mainframe, but show them other places. And that feedback it takes courage to put your pieces out there,
sure,
to put your expression and to watch that and other people react to your own piece, but then have it accepted and valued, not only within our walls, but then within Mainframe's walls, and then within the community walls. That is building confidence and building something that we can't monetize.
Yeah. Is there a risk here associated with that, however?
Yes. Anytime you put yourself out there, there is a risk. And we talk about that before we do that. I think when we first started our exhibition, for sure, I know that because it's a competition, right?
Right.
And
a lot
so
of people
how
hate
do
to
you,
lose.
Yeah. And so I know for 14 years, I've been the only person who've ever called people and told them whether they got in or not, because I wanted the experience to be as positive as possible. And I wanted it to be, but I also equally wanted it to be a real thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's hard to get self-respect if it's fake.
Yeah. I didn't want it to be, well, you have a disability, so you get magically in. It needed to have value, otherwise it lost its impact. But I also wanted, so every person who doesn't make it in the competition, and we use a different juror every year, and it's always a professional artist, just like any other, like the state fair or any other jurored competition. And it's just one way that someone can have their pieces shown. And I invite them to come, and I try really hard to get them to see what the juror was looking for. And I've seen people win one year and then not get in the next, or vice versa, not get in and then win the next year. It's very interesting because art can be really challenging that way, just like anything.
Yeah, well, there's
right?
a certain amount of subjectivity to it as well.
Exactly. And so that's the social work piece to it, right? I try to add that piece to it. What I found, Pat, is that we as social workers are the ones that get the most upset when the people we support don't get in. Always. Or we as parents.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So you've talked about what this means to the folks who have participated as your clients. But tell me about the impact on the larger community. Throw that in reverse. What am I getting out of this? What is this larger body of players who come to Mainframe and tour the artist studios and go out into the larger community and talk about momentum?
I originally, when I first started the exhibition, it was about breaking down stigma. Because early on, those early exhibitions, people would say, wow, I cannot believe the talent of your artists. And, I'd have to reframe that as, why not? Why can't you believe the talent of these artists? And then I would say, well, this is doing a service because we're exposing individuals. Of course, individuals with disabilities have talent. I mean, there are some fantastic artists that we represent. But I think we're also now, I see it as we're engaging the community in a very important conversation around mental health and disabilities that is really taking a very important role in the community conversation, and how art impacts that. But we need to be having those conversations, and how not only art impacts and can play a role in that, but how mental health itself, how us as a community is going to support individuals, and we don't do a good job of that.
No, we're not.
We don't do a good job of having that conversation, and I love the art community's response to mental health. It is by far the most welcoming and supportive community I've found around this topic.
How do you know that? What is it that's happening that tells you that?
They are, more than any other community we've engaged with, the art community in Des Moines is open and supportive of anyone who walks into it, and I love that about it. Everyone is accepted at equal value, and the differences are embraced in the artist community. And it's it is my favorite project that we're working on because of that, because the community is so rich and so supportive. Where when I show up at other parts of our community at large talking about mental health, that's not the response. It's hard to explain, Pat.
Yeah.
But usually they're like, "Oh, you're with the mental health people."
Well, when people come through here on, say, a First Friday and come into this Momentum studio, and hopefully people will be connecting to this podcast in a way where they'll see a couple of pictures from this studio, because it's really dramatic and exciting to see. When they come in and see that, what kind of response do they give you then?
It is.
What questions do they ask? What do they say?
I get a very positive response. First of all, because of the quality of art that they see. Usually we're a well-kept secret. I don't know why, but so thank you for highlighting us. They walk in and usually like, "Oh, we didn't know it was here." We love that it is. I get a lot of questions about how I help someone get connected, and it's really easy to get connected. If you know someone, or if you yourself think you would value from our supports, just visit our website. We have our open studio times are listed. You do not have to register for open studio times. You just show up. Our workshops are listed as well. Those do require registration because our studio and each workshop does have space limits, and so we wouldn't want someone to show up and be turned away. So, if we're painting, we might only be able to fit 10 people in, and so the first 10 people can come. And then if we have a wait list, then we'll open up another one maybe, if the teacher can do it. But it's as simple as that, and then you can or call our program coordinator.
So people want to connect.
Yeah, they actually want to find a way to connect, or how are you funded? That's a question. We are 100% funded by volunteers and donations. Our supplies are all donated. Our artists are volunteers.
Yeah, and that website is teamcsa.org.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And I also found the hashtag GetInspiredCSA.
Yes.
So that's another place to get some information. We're about to run out of time. I would like to remind everybody that since we're posting this on May 3rd, that tonight, come on by Mainframe Studios. Not only can you visit Space 104 here and get to visit probably with Christina,
Yep.
I'm guessing,
I'll be here.
which would be worth doing, but the Iowa State University students have a program called Mesophases as part of the atrium pieces that they've put together for Mainframe Studios. That will be on display, and they'll be here Friday night, May 3rd. And then a little bit more about your fundraiser coming up on May 10th, Christina. Again, at the Conservatory, it's called A Night with Momentum Speakeasy Art Auction. And that address is 315 East 5th Street. So a speakeasy.
Yes.
Fun.
Yes, so we are having, this is our big fundraiser for Momentum. Again, that fundraiser, all proceeds will go to helping us expand Momentum and let us serve more people, as well as expanding into more drama, music, those kinds of things. But the speakeasy itself, it's a ticketed event. You can get tickets at donate.teamcsa.org. /speakeasy, and or at our website at teamcsa.org. Tickets are still available. and they basically it's a roaring 20, step back into the roaring 20s, right? So we have Gina Gedler and the Foxtrot Hotshots performing jazz, and then we've got gaming and hors d'oeuvres, signature cocktails. There'll be dancing, lots of 20s era fun. We're encouraging our guests to dress in speakeasy attire, but you can make it as easy or as go all out as you want. So you can dress cocktail attire, maybe put on a fedora or maybe some pearls. Or if you really want to, you can, if you have a zoot suit or a flapper dress in your house, you can put that on, because we have a costume contest at the end of the evening as well, and there will be plenty of people who are dressed all out for 20s.
I'm sure there will. Maybe I can find some beads. And then you are also going to be kind of the feature of First Friday on June 7th here at Mainframe Studios. Is that correct?
So yes, on June 7th we are hosting that First Friday along with City Sounds. But our portion of that is we are hosting a exhibit on hope, and so our artists will be exhibited. And I did want to mention for the Speakeasy, we also have an art auction, and that will be, if you can't attend the event, it will also be online. We have some fantastic artists, mainly Iowa artists there, and it includes some of our Momentum artists being auctioned off, and so it will
and
be
how
a
do
lot
they
of fun.
access that art auction online?
That will be as well through the donate.teamcsa.org.
Okay. Christina, this has just been an absolute delight. Thank you so much. And again, folks, make sure next time you're at Mainframe, if you haven't done it yet, stop by Studio 104, and eventually maybe it'll be 104 plus.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Christina of Momentum.
Thanks, Pat.